Very warm welcome to all of you in Europe, Middle East, Africa, and the rest of the world, where I am currently staged in the wonderful country of New Zealand. I know that's not speaks for my carbon footprint, but even more, we have topics to tackle here with the government and some other supranationals talking about energy and obviously the economic development. And since we have a free trade zone agreement in place between Europe and New Zealand, it's even more of a hot topic to get the relationships balanced with partners all over the world. But having said that, I want also to refer a little bit on today's main topics and streams, which is the future and the current situation of Europe, and let me call it one time zone approach with our neighbor countries, as I said, in the Middle East and the African time zone in particular, but also the others who are nearby. And we want to talk about how we can secure and make sure that we have enough energy, affordable energy resources, and at best, completely fully carbon neutral. So we will talk about energy resources, not just wind and solar, also surely of hydrogen projects, but also innovative ideas. And in that respect, I'm also quite eager what your opinion is when the day is over, when you hear one of the last sessions. There's a company called Lucresta, and they work with biomethane, but I will not talk too much. They will release that in the later afternoon. I'm very glad that we also accompanied by truly senior people and expert and very passionate ones. I finally also will refer a little bit to the panels we have in front of us. It is more than just topics of what I said. It's also about capital market union, this in particular among the member countries of the EU, and its related topic like securitization. There we will hear and listen to people like now CM and the former Bundesbank director, Jochen Metzger, who will release what they can offer and do as a fintech and tech innovative and so on and so forth. But let me now come to the people like Gert Jan-Koopman. Gert Jan and myself, we have the pleasure of knowing each other for many years. In his previous position, Gert Jan was at DG Budget, and he was the founding father and I would say the ghostwriter of the underlying of the SURE program and also the spirit of Next Generation EU. Gert Jan, I may say so, you are not just a genius, also a brilliant, intelligent social person and a true European. Yes, Mahmoud Mohieldin, who is then kicking in and coming in as a UN Special Envoy for financing this sustainable mission up to 2023 and beyond. He is not also a long-term friend. He is really a talent, bringing and towing people together on a global scale. And finally, he will be followed by Wissam Fattouh, who is in charge as a Secretary-General for the Union of Arab Banks. That region becomes even more important over the past couple of years. And if I can think of, it is not the US and America, what people thought after Brexit, where a lot of business will go. No, completely wrong. It is better balanced now in Europe, it went to mainland, and surely as well to the region of the Middle East. And let me finish again with a phrase, I call it one time zone approach. We should, in that respect, forget our borders, stick together, and give the world what we are known for. A lot of initiatives also on the, not just on the environmental side, also of what we hold, valid patents. Yeah? So we have quite an innovative thought and ideas, and this is what we will discuss today. So thank you very much. I will hand over now to my colleague and dear fellow, Gert Jan-Koopman. He will take over. And I wish you all a wonderful day with us, and a big thanks also to Inglosios Foundation, who are a serious partner for us since they exist for the past couple of years. Thank you very much and enjoy the day with us.
Good morning, dear colleagues. If you are in the time zone of Europe, let me reiterate my gratitude for being able to participate in this important conference organized by DZ Bank and Inglosius. A big thank you to Frank for introducing us and for getting us together. The theme that you are going to be discussing throughout the day is of very significant importance because the importance of energy, clean tech, I would say, and the reorientation of related value chains across the globe in the context of the twin transitions, notably the green transition. They represent not just one of the biggest challenges which Europe is facing and the globe is facing, but they actually also present an enormous opportunity. And that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit. For the EU, very dependent on imported fossil fuels with important ambitions to get to net zero by 2050. The collaboration with the partners in the region actually is something that has risen to the very top of the political agenda because the region around us is a ring of friends with extremely favorable conditions for the production of renewable energy, with abundant labor at a time where labor shortages are going to be characterizing the EU labor markets, and a proximity to Europe with free trade agreements that in principle should allow for a very close economic relationship. These are, of course, also countries that we believe have huge economic possibilities and that are in need of significant growth going forward, in order to ensure that their populations, which are still growing very fast, can find a prosperous life ahead of them. So it's against this background that in the political guidelines for the next European Commission, which President von der Leyen announced in July, there's an enormous emphasis on the neighborhood and on economic cooperation to take this to the next level, by integrating these dimensions I have just mentioned. 20 years ago, we were talking about a ring of friends. Terms such as everything but the institutions those terms were bandied around. And I think they're back for geopolitical, geostrategic reasons and for the economic and climate reasons that we've seen before. So it's against this background that we've been working very closely already over the past few months with, for example, Egypt, with which we have concluded a strategic and comprehensive partnership very much focused on these issues. And the idea here is to take a comprehensive approach, mutually beneficial approach, from the perspective of ensuring that there are balanced advantages for both sides, which is very much focused on the twin transition, notably energy. And the conference that was hosted by President al-Sisi, which was attended by our own president, many leaders from the EU and from across the region, and the entire Egyptian cabinet, was a celebration of the results that are already flowing, including about 50 billion euros of deal flow set out in MOUs. Of course, this still has to be concretized, but it is a very, very promising departure. We've had similar discussions in Tunisia, with which already a good year ago we agreed to work together more closely, and recently I've been in Jordan, and the Jordanians have asked also to work on a strategic comprehensive partnership. And I'm just back literally a few hours from Morocco, with which we had extremely good discussions as well. Now, the reason that this is so important is that if we work together closely, and if we could ensure that this energy transition in the best interest of the countries, and they all want it, is speeded up, actually we can also ensure that a significant amount of energy is exported to the EU, be it through cables. I'm talking here renewable electricity, green hydrogen, so molecules, as part of an economic development strategy where the relevant parts of the value chains that are relocating anyway across the globe are considering the countries in the region. We've already, through our joint work, together with our partners, helped to facilitate a very significant volume of investments to the tune of some 20 billion euros. But obviously, much more is needed. So it is against this background that we're working on a trans-Mediterranean renewable and clean tech initiative. We call it TMED with our partners, and we'll actually seek to plan this connectivity in energy, clean tech, and renewables by highlighting where the interconnections would have to be, by looking at regulatory issues, and also crucially, and I will close on that, looking at financial issues. Ultimately, the interesting challenge here is that we're looking at a transition that is commercially viable, that can bring huge benefits, but that needs to be accompanied by de-risking instruments and financial tools. And there is a huge role for capital markets, ranging from VC all the way through to more conventional forms of financing to facilitate this. And my service, DG NEAR and the European Commission, is working very hard with the countries to develop instruments with our financial institutions, the European Investment Bank, EBRD, the IFC, and others, and also local partners in the region, which incidentally I see are also represented here at this conference. I see that the president of the UAB is here, excellent news. So there's a huge potential if we can ensure that the necessary de-risking instruments are developed. And through the EU budget, we are in a position to provide guarantees. We're in a position to ensure blending. And this will be a critical part of the mix, as I said, which will require some planning of interconnectivity. It will require regulatory change. It will require our industries to take these decisions. But then there's the financing piece, which really holds out the potential for a very significant evolution. And I believe that if the markets look at this, at what is needed, we can continue the very stimulating conversations that we've had so far with our partners in the region. And I open a parenthesis, this emphatically also, of course, includes the Gulf. Then I believe that we could make huge strides forward in the very near future. So I would like to invite all of you to focus on the financing piece of this transition. The EU is motivated to make it happen, and I'm sure that together we will succeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Koopman, Mr. Jan. It was a great way to start our conference, and I'm glad you focused on the financing issue as well, because that's going to be a very much a focus of the discussions throughout the day. I mean, just quickly before we move to the next speaker, you mentioned the Ring of Friends concept. There's obviously, this was announced more than probably a decade ago, but has the perspective or the concept of a Ring of Friends changed since it was first announced?
I think yes. Here geopolitics and geoeconomics has really changed things dramatically. In the past, if I'm honest, we thought it would be good for them, for our friends. Now we need it as much as our friends, I think, need it. We both need it. And the times we live in, therefore, are going to provide a very different context. Commission President has nominated a commissioner specifically mandated to work with the countries in the Mediterranean. The financial instruments I'm talking about are there, and the energy needs, the transition needs are something that wasn't so prominent 20 years ago. So we're living in a very different time where this is not just a nice idea for other people, it's actually an indispensable priority for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Koopman. Well, that's a great way to lead us on to our next keynote, and we thank you for your time. I'd like to invite Dr. Mahmoud Mohieldin, who has had many different hats over the years, but is currently UN Special Envoy for financing the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. And it'd be wonderful to hear your thoughts on the topic of the agenda for today, but also what Gert Jan just referred to about the Ring of Friends, how that idea has changed. Now countries like Egypt and other North African countries, that maybe they have the bargaining power.
Right. Thank you so much, Adam. And it's a great opportunity to come directly after my good friend Frank. And as always, great to listen to the good words of wisdom and practical implications from Mr. Jan-Koopman. And I was there in the conference that he referred to in Egypt that took place in Cairo a couple of months ago. And I reflect on that. And I reflect as well on your question, Adam, about this issue of the ring of friends. And I'm speaking to you today from my village in the Egyptian Delta. And I can tell you that I can reach any city in Southern Europe as fast and efficient as I would reach Luxor and Aswan almost at the same time, 90 minutes to 2 hours from my place here. And I live in the same time zone. And the geographic proximity allows that all. But still, we have many issues that would leave one for many things to be desired when it comes to trade, investment, finance, technological cooperation, and minimizing the hurdles of cooperation. Actually, in this very day, you will find a piece, because I know that I'll be short on time, that I wrote about leveling the international playing field. And I started by the case of Europe. And I started actually by reflecting on the European economic security strategy with its 5 specific initiatives that I see all of them nicely reflected in our program today on areas related to growth, on energy, on funding the transition, on areas related to innovation and thematic finance, and on matters related to climate. And the initiatives related to the European economic security strategy, there are many issues related to experts, FDI, and R&D. And I'm happy to see that my neighborhood, and my neighborhood here is 3, the Mediterranean neighborhood, the Middle East neighborhood, and the African neighborhood, are not subject to the geopolitical constraints that have been reflected in these initiatives. So I would say here, if you consider my region here, the Mediterranean, Middle East, and African region, as part of the solution to achieve this super ambitious European economic security strategy, I think it will be after good shared prosperity. In this tough global world that we are living in, with wars, including in Europe now. That was fast. All right, so I'll wrap up. And wars everywhere. I think regionalization with localization, with impact on localization, could be very much beneficial. And if I'm going to conclude, I'll conclude fast by the following. Those MOUs that Mr. Koopman mentioned, they are putting the framework, but they need to be operationalized. Otherwise, we'll be facing an MOU risk. The other thing that we need to have the trade facilitation, investment facilitation in a way that could really enhance the export orientation and more investments. On the finance side, including for climate action and SDGs, they need to be less dependent on debt, and they need to be more with opportunities on finance and investment opportunities. And finally, in the green initiatives, including by Europe, in areas related to the green transformation, there is the issues related to the CBAM, the cross-border adjustment mechanism, that I know the logic behind it, but we need really to cooperate better to minimize its negative spillovers in the short term, especially in the medium-sized enterprises and the labor market in the hard-to-abate industry. And we open opportunities in carbon credit markets, and we open opportunities in debt for climate and debt for green swaps, and to enhance investments and finance. So it's good that I refer to that article because I'm short in time. I've got even more shortened, but I look forward to the discussion, and I'm happy that new regionalism and local impact with a cooperative spirit would really deliver what we're all after. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mohieldin. I know they're very, very strict on the time here, but thank you for that contribution. And I think what you say about the time zone, the regionalization is a very important concept. And just before we move on, maybe I can ask you a quick question. Do you think there's been a lost opportunity or a missed opportunity about not focusing enough on the time zone, developing the Europe, Middle East, and Africa time zone as a united block, where you'd have like the US, obviously, and then the Asian time zone? You have these three blocks within the world. What do you think about that?
When I started my career advising government, that was in 1995, 1996, we had the super ambitious programs associated with the partnership agreement for trade facilitation, investment, technological support, and knowledge. For many reasons, geopolitical and others, I would say that the attention of Europe didn't really have sufficient emphasis on this neighborhood, with the exception of the fear of forced migration and refugees. I would say in order to prevent that, opening the tracks of trade, investment, innovation, and knowledge would really make matters related to positive, not negative spillovers of more relevance in the future. And you'll find, again, more reflection on that in that piece that I referred to.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohieldin. Very, very thoughtful piece. So yes, we are short on time, so we'll keep moving swiftly, but thank you very much, Dr. Mohieldin, for your time. And we're pleased to have Wissam Fattouh join us next. He's the Secretary-General of the Union of Arab Banks. We've heard finance discussed or brought up by our first two speakers already, Mr. Fattouh. So how can the banks in your region contribute more to greater cooperation between the within the time zone?
Thank you for inviting me. It's my honor to be with you today. Let me highlight three main issues. First of all, as representing the banking community in the MENA region, I would like to shed light first in my speech for the current facts about the EU-MENA banking relationships, as the banking is one of the main pillars of global capital. Second, we'll highlight in briefly the main challenges facing the developments of these relationships. And third, present my views on how to overcome. The relationship, ladies and gentlemen, between the MENA region and the EU is steeped in a rich history of trade. Over the past decades, this relationship has developed, becoming increasingly focused on economic integration and financial cooperation. The EU remains one of the MENA region's largest trading partners, and the financial linkages between our region are deep and multifaceted. In recent years, the dynamic of this relationship have shifted in response to a global economic trends, technological advancement, and geopolitical developments. The EU's strategic interest in the MENA region is driven by energy needs, the migration challenge, and the desire of foster stability in its neighborhood. Converse, the MENA region views the EU as vital partner for investment, trade, and access to advanced financial markets. At the heart of this interregional partnership are the financial and banking relationships that underpin trade, investment, and economic cooperation. These relationships has been instrumental in fostering economic growth, enhancing financial stability, and facilitating the flow of capital between the two regions. The banking sector, ladies and gentlemen, plays a fundamental role in this context. European banks have a strong presence in the MENA region, almost in all MENA countries, in Gulf, in North Africa, Egypt, Lebanon, providing crucial financial services, facilitating trade finance, and offering expertise in risk management and regulatory compliance. Conversely, MENA-based financial institutions are increasingly active in 11 European countries through 50 banking entities between subsidiaries and representative offices, with a total capital invested exceed $2 billion, driven by diversification strategy and a search for new opportunities. However, ladies and gentlemen, this partnership is not without challenges. The MENA region faces significant economic disparities, political instability, and regulatory divergence, which can hinder deeper financial integration with the EU. The global financial landscape is also rapidly changing, with digitalization, fintech innovation, and evolving regulatory frameworks posing both risk and opportunity for cross-border financial activities. Yet, within this challenge lies significant opportunities. The MENA region is undergoing substantial economic transformation driven by ambitious reform economic diversification strategies, and the effort to enhance financial inclusion. These changes present a new avenue of collaboration with the EU, particularly in areas such as sustainable finance, green energy investment, and digital banking. To unlock the full potential of the financial and banking relationship between the MENA region and the EU, allow me please to suggest 5 important areas of collaboration. Number 1, regulatory harmonization and cooperation. Number 2, sustainable finance and ESG integration. Number 3, digital innovation and fintech collaboration. 4th, capacity building and knowledge exchange. And 5, investment in infrastructure and development projects. In conclusion, the financial and banking relationships between the MENA region and the European Union are a cornerstone of our economic partnership. By deepening these ties, addressing shared challenges, and seizing emerging opportunities, we can build a more resilient, inclusive, and prosperous future for both regions. I thank you so much. I'm going to be brief. I'm going to stop here.
Thank you, Mr. Fattouh, for being brief. That was very well behaved. But I would like to develop one of those themes on digitalization, especially. I think there's several European countries who could do with learning from the MENA region and other areas on the advancements they've made, especially in the areas of payments and other things. So I think this is a win-win, mutually beneficial relationship. And I think where it comes to some of the legacy technology that European banks have, they need to make some big strides in terms of payment systems that other parts of the world have. So we'd be very grateful to learn from what's going on in your region as well. So thank you very much.
We're always very happy at Union for a Bank to cooperate with you. Our cooperation lasts for, 15, 20 years by now, and we're very honored about this relationship, and we're always ready to more collaboration between Arab banks and European banks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fattouh. Well, thank you all to our keynote speakers, and that's put us on a good stead for the rest of our discussions throughout the day. I would like to bring the first section of the day to a close, and shortly we'll commence the first panel of the day, which I will also be introducing. For those of you who don't know me, I didn't introduce myself at the start of as being the continuity announcer for the keynotes, but my name is Adam Cotter. I'm based in the Singapore office of DZ Bank, and I work on our relationships with official sector institutions across the world. And looking forward to continuing the conversation throughout the day with these types of institutions, and also on to the first panel of the day, which is titled The Growth of the EU and What It Means for Its Neighbours, which will be starting in the next minute or so. Thank you very much.